Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of the Brazos Valley. My name is Reverend Kiya. My pronouns are she, they, and we're so happy to see you today. We're going to start out by singing the classic Christmas song, Angels We Have Heard on High, which is number 231 in the Gray Hymnal. Angels we have heard on high, sweetly singing o'er the plain, and the mountains in the echoing their
Howdy. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of the Brazos Valley, UUCBV, or just Brazos UU for short. My name is Jeff Graber, and I am serving as your worship assistant today. We are a welcoming congregation, which means that we celebrate and welcome all people of diverse sexual orientations and gender identities. We also strive to welcome people across diversities of race, age, ability, immigration status, and belief. We are also a congregation working for reproductive justice. So whoever you are, wherever you have come from, wherever you are on life's journey, you are welcome here.
Our call to worship this morning comes from the American Universalist founder, John Murray, who said, "Go out into the highways and byways, give the people something of your vision. You may possess only a small light, but uncover it. Let it shine. Use it in order to bring more light and understanding to the hearts and minds of men and women. Give them not hell, but hope and courage. Preach the kindness and everlasting love of God." John Murray.
We're going to have Ryan come forward to light the chalice. Please say the chalice lighting words with me. We light the the chalice, the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith, as a beacon of hope for all who seek justice, dignity, and compassion, and in celebration of life of truth and meaning that we share together. Now please join me in saying our affirmation. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its gift. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
So I've got a reading for you this morning. It's part of a poem from the Choir Invisible by George Eliot. And this is the last stanza. This is life to come, which martyred men have made more glorious for us who strive to follow. May I reach that purest heaven, be to other souls the cup of strength in some great agony, enkindle generous ardor, feed pure love, beget the smiles that have no cruelty, be the sweet presence of a good diffused, and in diffusion ever more intense. So shall I join the choir invisible, whose music is the gladness of the world. George Eliot. So, as Unitarian Universalists, we believe there is a spark of the divine in every being, including all of y'all. And this is your great opportunity to say howdy to all the other divine sparks in the room, especially the ones you don't know their names yet. And make sure, even if they're younger than you, that you learn their names, or even if they're older than you, that you speak to them. I'll let you know when it's over.
Good morning. My name is Allison, and I do the religious education here at UUCBV. And today, the service is about Universalism. And so I thought I would break out one of our favorite Time for All Ages stories, which is The Bad Seed. It's a favorite. By Jory John. I'm a bad seed. A bad seed. Oh yeah, true. The other seeds, they look at me and say, that seed is so bad. When they think I'm not listening, they mumble, "There goes a bad seed." But I can hear them. I have good hearing for a seed. How bad am I? You really want to know? Well, I never put things back where they belong. I'm late to everything. I tell long jokes with no punchlines. I never wash my hands or my feet. I lie about pointless stuff, and I cut in line every time. I stare at everybody. I glare at everybody. I finish everybody's sentences, and I never listen. And I do lots of other bad things too. Know why? Because I'm a bad seed. A bad seed. I just can't help it. Sure, I wasn't always this bad. I was born a humble seed on a simple sunflower in an unremarkable field. I had a big family, seeds everywhere. We found ways of having fun. We were close. But then the petals dropped and our flower drooped. It's kind of a blur. I remember a bag. Everything went dark. And then a giant. I thought I was a goner. I thought I was done for. I screamed and I hollered. Ah! Pachoo! That sounds like a spit sound. Sorry, it's best. But I was spit out at the last possible second. I flew through the air and I landed under the bleachers with a huge thud. When I woke up, it was dark outside. A wad of gum had softened my fall. I had felt okay, but something had changed in me. I'd become a different seed entirely. I'd become a bad seed. A bad seed. That's right. I stopped smiling. I kept to myself. I drifted. I was a friend to nobody and bad to everybody. I was lost on purpose, and I lived inside of a soda can. I didn't care, and it suited me. Until recently. I've made a big decision. I've decided I don't want to be a bad seed anymore. I'm ready to be happy. It's hard to be good when you're used to being so bad, but I'm trying. I'm taking it one day at a time. Sure, I still forget to listen. And I still show up late. And I still talk during movies. And I do all kinds of other bad stuff. But I also say thank you. And I say please. And I smile. And I hold doors open for people. Not always, but sometimes. And even though I still feel bad, sometimes I also feel kind of good. It's sort of a mix. All I can do is keep trying and keep thinking, maybe I'm not such a bad seed after all. Hey, look, there goes that bad seed. Actually, he's not all that bad anymore. I heard that. The end. All right, so if you're a first-time visitor or if you know what to do, you see children running out, if you would like to come to religious education with me, please meet me at the back, and will the rest of you sing us out with this little light of mine?
Before we do that, we're going to sing Happy Birthday Now's the time in our service where we light candles and meditate for our joys and our sorrows so that we can share them in the community. The music for us today is provided by Reverend Kiya. So this morning I'm talking about early Universalism. We are Unitarian Universalists built from two different American denominations that merged in the 1960s. Our Universalist ancestors built their denomination primarily in the 1770s and on the concepts of no hell, a human Jesus, and the eventual restorations of all souls, which in Greek is apokatasis, which I can't say, but it's a very long Greek word, and it means restoration of all things. Early Universalists emphasized that God's nature is love, agape love, and that divine justice is restorative rather than retribution. A loving God would not permit eternal suffering. That's the basic premise of universalism, and we still have that element in our beliefs today. These ideas are, however, much, much older and originate in the complex Roman world of the 3rd century. The most influential people all came from a place called Alexandria, which is in Egypt, in Africa. And the most influential of all the philosopher priests was Origen of Alexandria, and he lived from 184 to 253 Common Era. And it was a really interesting period of time because Christianity is not the religion of the Roman world. There's no Catholic Church at that point. Things are pretty complicated. The Roman world is also very pagan and strong, and they have a lot of mystery cults. There's also a lot of Jewish people, and the Jewish traditions were originally tolerated by the Romans until the Jewish people kept uprising, and then they sort of like burned their temple to the ground. But overall, Romans were very tolerant of other people's religions. They kind of just adopted them into their big picture, their big tent. The United States has a lot in common with the Roman world, and so we also try to emulate that a lot. This religious pluralism, the Roman world was polytheist and tolerance of the various religious practices as long as they didn't disrupt public order. That's the tricky part, and that's where the Christians get in trouble. The mystery religions, Greco-Roman, paganism, so, Zeus, and becomes, Jupiter, and all those gods and goddesses we're pretty familiar with even today. And then Christianity was getting going, and people were arguing, and they were arguing about things that are pretty important to argue about, I reckon, although it's sort of like arguing about how many angels are dancing on the head of a pin. But they're mostly arguing about things like, was Jesus divine when he landed? Or was he a human, and then at a certain point, like when he got baptized by John the Baptist, did he become divine? And then some people say, well, he was human all the way through. And some people say, no, he was both. And that's kind of where they ended up later. But none of this was decided in the 3rd century. None of it. So why were Christians persecuted? Well, during Origen's lifetime, Christians faced increased hostility, and people started being mad at them because Christians refused to participate in the traditional Roman religious practices. And at this point, people were worshiping the emperors. So you were supposed to just, go burn incense or give presents at the temple for whoever was the emperor of the time, because they were considered divine in a very Egyptian kind of way. Imagine that. So Christians weren't having any of that. And also, because I'm not sure that it was true that in Jesus' time that Jesus planned on getting killed. It wasn't really like that. People were talking more about the Messiah coming, and the Messiah wasn't necessarily going to die. That was a very new idea that didn't show up really till Paul, which is almost 60 years after Jesus has died. So all this stuff is not decided. That's the part I want you to hold on to. And Origen grew up in Alexandria. His dad was a professor, and his dad was martyred in one of those purges of Christians. He died. In fact, Origen was a young boy, maybe 13 or so, and he tried to go be martyred with his dad. But his mother hid his clothes so he was naked, so he couldn't go. Which is the only reason he lived, to be an older person. But he really believed that he should be a martyr for his faith like his father. And that was really common, these little periods of time. It just depended on who the emperor was at that moment. Okay. So, also, there were all these rumors that are kind of creepy, okay? Like, they thought the Eucharist was literally eating the body and blood, and that it was kind of cannibalistic. And so the pagans would say that the Christians were, they were cannibals, and that they ate babies. I'm not making any of this up. Okay, so they kind of disrupted the whole cultural norms of the Roman society. And whenever anything went wrong, like when Rome burned, Nero blamed it on the Christians, and that made it really useful to feed them to lions, you know, for the gladiators. Anybody see the Gladiator movie too? Yeah? Okay. I haven't seen it either, but I want to know if it's good. All right. So, going to Alexandria. Alexandria, as you might know, was built by Alexander the Great. And it was a center of learning. He was envisioning it, you know, his teacher, his tutor was Aristotle. And so he built a place where people could share information. And it was a port, so people brought books, and books were really rare and scarce. So imagine a library where they tried to get a copy of every single book ever written by hand. All those books written by hand. And they had schools. So the Alexandrian school, where Origen taught, was in Alexandria. And they had been teaching Plato for a really long time, and Neoplatonism. And there were a lot of ideas that are Christian, we think of as Christian ideas, that were Platonic ideas and Neoplatonic ideas. Like that you have a soul, and that it's indestructible, and that it lasts beyond your life. They were thinking that way, way, way before Jesus. So imagine that you've got somebody who was trained in all these different worlds, and who could read Greek and Hebrew. He studied Hebrew, and he was able to, what he did that's so unusual is Origen kind of went, hey, all these ideas, I'm going to put them all together, and that's what we're going to teach Christians. And so a lot of Platonic ideas got put into Christianity, ideas about the afterlife, ideas about living a moral life, ideas about your behavior and having free will. Those are all from Origen. And Origen taught lots and lots of people, and he wrote over 2,000 texts. So he was very prolific. Now, later he becomes marked as a heretic because he also preached that there was redemption for all souls. So he is the origin of our ideas of universalism. And he taught lots of other people who also talked about that, and it's kind of coming back. I don't know, those of y'all that are coming from the evangelical church may have heard of some of these authors like Rob Bell. Anybody heard of Rob Bell? Love Wins is his most famous book, where he says, wait a minute, I don't think it's in the Bible that people burn in hell. And so that got him kicked out of his very, very gigantic church. But now he's an author, and lots of other people as well. Another really famous person, if you're interested in this stuff, is David Bentley Hart, who's another writer that's written a lot about it, and a guy named Thomas Talbot. But just look around. There's a lot of books out there where evangelicals are becoming more universalist in their beliefs. Now, we've kind of been doing this for a while. So, there are things in the Bible that Origen thought backed up his ideas of universalism. So, in Philippians 2, verse 10 through 11, it says, at the name of Jesus, every knee should bow, and every tongue confess that Jesus Christ is Lord. And then Acts 3:21, heaven must receive him until time comes for God to restore everything. Now, restoring everything, he took that literally, that we're all going to get restored. So, when we get to the 17th century and we start our own church here in the United States, John Murray, which I've talked about before, but I'll tell you very briefly, there was a farmer in New Jersey named Thomas Potter, and God told him to build a church. So he did. And there was a shipwreck, and this depressed man, John Murray, who had been preaching Universalism in England, had given up the church and was mad at God because his wife and daughter died. And so he was with the people on the boat going to get water because they were stuck on a sandbar. And he runs into Thomas Potter. And Thomas Potter finds out he's a preacher. Says, "Oh, I built your church. It's sitting right here. You're going to preach on Sunday." And John Murray's like, "Wait a minute. I know. I'm mad at God. I'm not preaching." And when Thomas Potter says, "Well, if you're still here on Sunday, you're preaching." And that's how we got the Universalist Church in America. That's it. That's the story. Now, there's some other people, too. It's interesting. And they believed in a gradual, like you had to go to time out after you died if you'd been really bad. But eventually you would get saved. And then those people are like the first lights. And then the new lights come around with Hosea Ballou, who I've talked about before. And I'll talk about more because he was the coolest. He's like, "Well, so your son is drinking too much and you're really mad at him? You're worried he's going to go to hell? Well, let's build a bonfire right now." And the father was like, "What are you doing, Hosea?" And Hosea's like, "What, are you a better parent than God? God's not going to burn your kid. Why should you?" That was the whole idea. The idea that God is too loving to burn people makes a lot of sense. If there's a God, God is not burning anybody. That is my belief, and that is what I'm preaching. That's one of the reasons why I'm a Unitarian Universalist. But that's the thinking behind it, and it goes all the way back to the 3rd century. Another really interesting person, if you're interested in this stuff, I would look up Origen. It's spelled like Origen, Origen. That's how you spell his name. And then another person you might want to check out is named Gregory of Nyssa, who's a Turkish father that was a student of Origen's, but has a lot to say about the restoration of all souls. So hopefully that stuff is interesting to you. And then about the 5th and 6th century, when Christianity became part of the Roman world, it was the state religion, they felt like they had to make it uniform and that everybody had to believe the same way. That's when they started killing people and excommunicating them and calling people heretic. You've heard that word because we all are heretics, by the way. Did you all know that? Welcome to the club of heretics. So, Universalism, which was very prominent in the early church right after Jesus died, until about the 4th century, and that's when they start really fighting it out. So Origen was attacked himself when he was older during one of the Roman purges of Christianity. And so they tortured him, and then he eventually died from the torture. But that's what happened to him. And all these other people, even when it becomes a state religion, think that Universalism is heresy. Because Aristotle and other people thought that, you should have to pay for your mistakes. And that God was more like like the Old Testament God. Do y'all ever feel like the Old Testament God and the New Testament God are not quite the same dude? If it's a dude, right? They're like, one of them's like, smite, smite, kill, kill. And the other one's like, peace, love. Have a nice day. I think, yeah, either God is bipolar, or perhaps there are different people making decisions about who God is, and it changes over time. So, personally, you're getting somebody who is interested in this stuff, but I always think of it not so much that God is deciding how all these people behave, but that human beings make up religions, and human beings are flawed. And that changes over time and with cultures. So always look behind the culture to say, why are they subjugating women? Why do they want to put, what's Christian nationalism? What's all these things? Why do they preach these things but leave these other things out? Be skeptical. One of the great things about both Unitarians and Universalists is that they were founded in early periods of time during the Enlightenment, where reason was your backup place and that you have free will. And so use your brain that God gave you. That's my advice. And I hope it's helpful. Yeah. So, thank you. And now we're going to sing number 241, In the Bleak Midwinter. In the bleak winter, frosty world, thirsting heart and
Now let an offering be taken to sustain and strengthen this place, which is sacred to so many of us, a community of memory and of hope, for we are now the keepers of the dream. This church shares the proceeds of the offering plate donation every week to help support important nonprofit organizations with which we work. The four groups we voted to support with this year's donations are Brazos Valley Blessings, Brazos Interfaith Immigration Network, the Trans Joy Project, and Tiny Hope Village. We vote on this every May at our congregational meeting. Please be as generous as you can.
Good morning, friends.
We give thanks for these gifts that you have given, for those who receive, and for each other. May your generosity return to you tenfold. Now we have some announcements. Love and Joy rehearsals are now every Monday and Thursday, 6 through 7 p.m. New music is up at www.KiyaHeartwood.com. Just click on the Love and Joy page. We are trying to complete the backfire circle pass and need help moving mulch and laying cardboard. Please help when you can. Christmas Karaoke Day, December 15th. Got a favorite song you want to perform? Talk to Reverend Kiya. Santa will be here for selfies, and you can wear your pajamas to church. Feel free to add to our tree decorations as you will. Youngest UUs will meet on December 13th at 7 p.m. Childcare is provided. Please see Kat or Lavender for more information. We are currently writing cards for incarcerated UUs during coffee hour today and next week. Please write 2 or 3. It is very meaningful to have messages of hope while incarcerated during the holiday season. And we will have a lessons and carol service for all ages Christmas Eve at 6 p.m. Everyone is welcome. And now, please join me in extinguishing the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of the community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we gather together again.
Please sing the